One of my favorite things is when a film, for whatever reason, shows cock and balls. And I think the reason why it makes me so happy is because I grew up on Jackass. Jackass is one of my favorite franchises. And whenever there was a cock and balls on that movie, they were doing crazy stuff with it. And so, like, whenever I see a cock and ball on a movie screen, I'm like, this is an event. This is exciting. So the fact that you went for it, I'm like, fuck yeah. It is called meat for a reason.
Well, in my case, it was very humbling. So, just, oh my God.
I'll let the guys know.
Yeah, please do. All right.
This is Opening Kill. The following program contains mature content, explicit language, and detailed discussion of on-screen deaths. Spoilers are unavoidable. Listener discretion is advised.
And welcome back to Opening Kill episode 65. I'm Brian O'Connor.
And I am Michael Duran, joining you tonight.
And you know, Michael, tonight we're doing something a little special. Instead of breaking down a film scene by scene like we usually do, we have a very special interview, somebody I'm very excited to talk to. It's a filmmaker who is bringing something fresh, bold, and very personal into the horror space.
Yeah, emphasis on the bold. This thing is definitely bold. We are joined by Roger Connors, writer and director of the upcoming indie LGBTQ horror film Meat. Roger, welcome to Opening Kill. We are excited to have you here.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. The title of your podcast alone, I was like sold. So yeah, we're on the same wavelength for sure. This is gonna be fun.
So Roger Connors, you co-wrote, you had another writer on this film as well, but you co-wrote and directed this. And Michael and I got to screen an advanced copy of this film. And wow, I got to tell you, I was blown away just from the very beginning. The credits, I get really excited about creative credits. And these were like, oh my God, here we go. And from there, it just kept going. Everything about this film, the cinematography, the editing, I'm a big editor. And so the cuts and the edits in this were fantastic as well. And you have been on the film festival circuit already. I want to mention that because this is kind of the time for that. And you have picked up some awards. I want to go down the list here real quick. You've won the Jury Award at the Atlanta Horror Film Festival, the Icon Award at the Ethereal Horror Fest, Best Actor for Cody Steele at the Houston Horror Film Fest, and Best Director at that same festival for you, Roger Connors. Congratulations so far on the success you're seeing.
Thank you. Thank you. The early positive response has been a big gust of wind in my sails because I'm sure you all understand, like coming off of an elongated production. I really needed to see this thing hit with a certain audience, and luckily it has. We are about to play. We just had our Canadian premiere literally this past weekend, Toronto, which I was able to attend. But upcoming, we have our European premiere, and just these really big, exciting milestones, and seeing not just the queer community, but the extended horror community in general start to embrace this for what it is, which is, a stone cold slasher at its core, but focusing on a queer crowd of individuals, making them the focus for once. It's really been something that I've seen this like amazingly warm response, and it's filling my cup up, if you will. My heart overfloweth over with gratitude, just because it is very personal. I put a lot of personal energy and time and money into this thing, and it comes from a very just personal aspect of my life, which is growing up as a queer individual. So I was really hoping it would hit, and it seems to be doing so. So that's really exciting. It's a very exciting place to be in the journey.
Right. So tell me, where did the idea for Meat come from?
Yeah, I just grew up loving slashers. I mean, like that's it. It's, either that or Romero. Like I love zombie flicks, and I love just badass slasher movies. And I came out pretty young. I came out at 15, and so I was both identifying myself and finding out who I was, and also learning about my love and my passion for the horror genre at the same time. And they kind of culminated together to eventually become what is Meat. But I'd always wanted to work on a queer infused slasher. It was a dream of mine. And I've always incorporated elements of the LGBTQIA plus community into the stories that I tell or the projects I work on. But, when I started doing this, I was an actor first and foremost. And if there were queer roles, they were very one-dimensional and they were very stereotypical. And it was like, yes, girl, like cracking the one-liners and being sassy and gay, and then you die, and that's fun, and I love that. But also, I'm like, there's so much more humanity to explore here,
Right.
and so I just wanted to do it right, and I always want to do that. I know there's a huge queer fan base for the horror genre in general, but specifically slashers. Final Girls, they resonate with us, with the queers, in a way that we hold very personal and we hold it very near and dear. And so I wanted to explore that on my own terms.
Was there a specific moment or concept that sparked this entire thing? Or was it just, as you said, you just grew up with this genre?
I mean, I started working on the script, and it went through a lot of different forms, but I started working on a slasher script back in the 2015, 16, around that time. I'd been working on other projects, but I was just feeling kind of underwhelmed with the experience I was having as a queer actor. I'd go into an audition and be like, hi, my name's Roger Connors, and I want you to give me a shot as the straight male lead. Or I was, like I said, I was playing these stereotypes. And so I had worked behind the scenes on an array of projects. I had at this point assistant directed a bit. And I just knew that if I was going to write a script, it would have to come from a personal viewpoint. I'm not going to write a script that I can't at least inject some of my DNA into, at least this early on in my journey. So it just felt like a natural evolution. But around 2016 or so, but I will say one of the big things that pushed me and motivated me to actually get the ball rolling was a little indie slasher, Death Drop Gorgeous. You can watch it on Shudder. I've gotten to know the guys quite well. The monster makeup crew, they're based out of Rhode Island. And, they made what is a queer slasher, and it came out before Meat. Very drag centric. It's fabulous. I mean, seriously, it gives you the full experience, and it's unabashedly queer. And I had been sitting on this script and wanting to do something, but I was like, no way anybody's going to respond to this or give it a shot or want to watch it. And then they came out with that on a small budget on their own terms, and they made it work. And I thought it was amazing. They got it on Shudder. I thought it was phenomenal. And I was like, this is a wonderful inspiration, to lift up my own torch and join them on the same path, and so that was a huge inspiration for me.
Oh, yeah. So I think it kind of answered this a little bit, but you first conceived this film and you start making it into the horror slasher, this beautiful slasher that it is. And you said you infused a lot of yourself within the script for Meat. Can you just tell us a little bit more about those personal experiences that really led to this story? Because it's such a good story. That's one of my favorite aspects of it, is the story itself.
Thank you. And while my personal experiences are nowhere as intense, I would say, or awful.
Yeah.
I would hope not.
I was just going to say, my God, Roger, I hope not.
I mean, I grew up in, I'd say the underbelly of the gay bar nightlife. And I saw the best and the worst angles of it. And, I never got into drugs really, though I'm a huge stoner. That's the limit. But other than that, I did see, though, I saw a lot of people kind of fall from grace. And that's tough to watch, especially within your community. A lot of minority groups, drugs happen to be a problem. They run rampant. And it's, for a lot of people, it's a method of escapism. And so I knew I wanted to bring some of the grittier aspects of the community into this story, because nobody wants a sugar-coated, saccharine, one-dimensional piece of fluff. You got to get real characters, textured human beings who have good traits and bad traits, and there's likable and there's plenty to dislike. And I felt that was necessary. So I felt like I needed to explore some of those aspects. So my personal experiences, I would say, are just, growing up as a go-go dancer in my 20s and seeing people get messed up and do horrible things, and then just kind of move on about their lives and not even look back and think about it. And I've seen a lot of people kind of brush off that chapter of their life. And I'm like, no, girl, I know what you used to be like. Like you are not the polished princess that you claim to be, my friend. But yeah, there's a lot of personal experiences and personal interactions that I've had throughout my life as a queer man.
That was something that I just wanted to really touch on was I loved the setting because in the beginning, and this is in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling anything, but something really bad happens in a place that individual should be safe. Like that should be a safe place for them. And so when you take that away, it's almost like the home invasion movie where you're supposed to be safe in your home and then you flip that on its head. And I thought that was just a really brilliant choice to make. It made it hit, I think, probably for the gay community really hard, I would assume. Like it hit hard for me.
That was the goal. I mean,
Yeah.
Truthfully, I knew that it was going to push some buttons. But also, like, you know, this film has an element of camp to it, but it's also pretty serious. Like, when it gets to the core of the story that we're telling, like, there's a lot of awful things that happen. People do terrible things. People emotionally cope through that as well. Like, you see people responding over time to the things that they have done, and everyone has a different response to it, you know? And so I think it was just the event that transpires that kind of gets the ball rolling in me. I knew that I didn't want to do something sticky or funny or like, you know, the opening setup for a slasher, you know, opening kill podcast, you're going to know this better than anybody. A lot of them are really low stakes. You know, like I just watched Valentine recently and like, I get it. Like they make this guy seem like the biggest threat, but at the end of the day, he had a bad homecoming or Valentine's Day dance. And then he like had a mental breakdown. That's all of us. So like we've all had that moment.
Right.
It doesn't warrant being a killer. I knew that if I was going to be so heavy-handed with the queer aspect here, I also wanted to come in swinging as a horror movie, as a drama.
Absolutely.
That was my goal.
So did the title Meet come early, or did that did that come along later once the themes start to take shape for you?
The title was pretty early on. I mean, when I knew it was Meet, I knew exactly why, and I was like, I can't see it changing, because there's a lot of layers to that title. I mean, Meet. I mean, first of all, this is a gory film, and that was the goal. Was as fun and gay as this is going to be, like when this is a horror movie and then when this is a slasher, we can play with the big boys. You know, we can jump in the pool and keep ourselves afloat as a horror movie. So I knew that double entendre there would make sense and connect. But really, it stems from, and again, you two are going to know better than anyone because you specialize in the genre. You cover horror movie titles. If you're watching a slasher, majority of the time, it is the women that are being objectified and handled a certain way, treated a certain way, to the point that it's almost fetishized. Like a lot of individuals go into slashers being like, I can't wait till that hot gal whips out her tits and dies. That's a mentality that horror fans have come to just accept. And for women, like we as men can't even really comprehend the idea of how it feels to be a female who is a fan of the genre, watching these events transpire and just being like, yeah, I'm just come to accept this. It's just the norm.
Right.
I wanted to make men feel as uncomfortable and as vulnerable as women do in a majority of the films that we watch within the subgenre. And so the meat here, the meat on display in Meat, it's the men that are having it kind of flipped. The coin is flipped in this situation. And now men are being objectified and men are being made vulnerable and men are being put in situations where their bad decisions come back to haunt them. And if there's females in this film, like oftentimes they are sensible and they're like getting shit done, you know?
Yep.
So horror has always been a space for metaphor, you know, fear, otherness, survival, so forth. What themes really are you exploring through this story? I want to get into that a little bit here.
The idea of, first of all, I guess I would say like self-forgiveness, the importance of allowing yourself to move past your own demons. Um, and that oftentimes, like, you are your own rock that you need to cling to, and you have the inner strength to get through that. And I think that, at least for the character of Noah, it's watching him come to terms with who he is as a grown man, and realizing that he can make it on his own, you know? And so that's definitely a theme I wanted to explore there. But also, I think the idea of how we as a society have developed this mob mentality with blame and who's guilty and what that actually means, and the kinds of punishments that are to be appointed for people who have done certain things, and how we feel holier than thou in a lot of these scenarios to cast our stones on other people. And the people in this film, a chunk of these characters have done something really horrible. And that is something that is meant to kind of linger with you through the whole film. You're not supposed to forget that some of these characters did awful things, but after a significant time jump, every character is coping with what they've done in a very different way. And it doesn't make you suddenly think like, oh, this is acceptable, but it does make you say, wow, people grow, and people who make horrible mistakes still have the room to evolve or de-evolve. Honestly, like, some of these characters do not get better. But it's really a character study in that sense of, and just the idea of comeuppance, because every good slasher has layers of comeuppance. Someone in that scenario has something to fall back on them, some sort of blame or something they did wrong. There's a reason you want to see that these kids die, whether they're breaking onto a property or they accidentally killed a sibling 10 years ago, or whatever it is that's setting it off. There's this element of comeuppance. But now when you're watching this film, you're kind of rooting for these characters to bite it, but you're also supposed to be feeling something too.
Right.
Yeah. So do you feel like, because to me, horror has always been a very inclusive genre randomly. And do you think that it is uniquely suited to tell LGBTQIA stories in a way that other genres maybe can't?
I think that the reason horror does such a good job with this kind of material is, like, honestly, I feel that in the best horror movies, the form of evil, whatever that villainous evil force might be, it is always representative of something else. It's always representation of something bigger. I always lean into Romero because the first film I ever saw, aside from The Wizard of Oz, was Night of the Living Dead. So that developed two very different sides of my personality. But I yearn for social context in my horror because it makes it better. It makes it better. There is something to dig into and cling to and say, that connects with me, Mm-hmm. And so, some movies are very subtle about it. Some are very heavy-handed. I felt with this film that it kind of made sense to be heavy-handed. I'm happy I was, because, we started rolling on this late 2021 into 2022, and then we filmed it all the way through what is 2024, technically. But I couldn't have predicted in 2021 where things would be at right now in our culture, socially, as we currently exist, and to keep things very basic here, I'm not going to dive in too much, but I think the themes that we explored in the script have only become that much more relevant. And so, we actually went back in and added some stuff back in. The film runs a bit longer, but I was like, no, we got to put all this social commentary in this context. Yes. Like, I need to inject that back into the movie, because that's what people will cling on to. And the deaths and the gore and all that, that's what they'll stick around with you,
Right.
Yeah.
Without spoiling anything, because this film is not out yet, what emotional experience do you want audiences to walk away with after they've seen this?
I want people to go in wanting like a badass slasher, and I want people walking out of it thinking like, wow, I actually was forced to like think and feel during that movie. Like, I actually was like emotionally challenged a little bit, if you will. I want people to feel complex feelings. And I don't want people just walking out like, yeah, that was gory and people got naked. I want people like, wow, I got everything I wanted and a whole lot of like underlying themes and, like I said, social context that I wouldn't have even anticipated would come in
Right.
a movie entitled.
So I want to get into a little bit now the style, because this movie has so much style. I loved it. The soundtrack, the colors, the use of neon in this.
Yeah.
Even in the middle of scenes when you do a split screen and you have the neon line that comes through, I thought was brilliant. How would you describe the tone of Meat?
Like your best gay bar experience, mixed with the horrors of reality, because you get both. But when we went in, I wanted people to feel like, I mean, those opening credits, I'm so happy you mentioned them, because really I haven't talked about those a lot. But the moment the movie starts, I want you to feel, if you're a straight guy who's never been to a gay bar, I want you to be like, well, this is what it's like. Like, I want you to feel like you're immersed in that world. I don't want to give people a two-dimensional idea of what the gay nightlife is. I want them to feel like they are in it. And so we reflected that in kind of all elements, down to the kills. Like, we really played with the lighting, and of course, there's going to be acknowledgement of like Argento and just how I'm paying homage to that. And of course I am. Like, I'm a gay horror fan. Like, how could I not love my giallos? And I've got to incorporate that because they just look so good. But also, I just felt it naturally lent itself to, like, again, the underbelly of the gay nightlife, when you're in a grungy leather bar at 1:30 a.m. and you've got lights pulsing and shadow, and it's just dark and moody and it smells disgusting. Like, I wanted people to sense all of that. And luckily it made the lighting really fun. Zach Schildwachter, who is also my co-writer and assistant director, he and McCoon, cinematographer, DP, really collaborated. That was them kind of getting into this world and just saying, okay, now how do we translate this to the screen? And how do we give this movie a personality? And so the lighting was the first thing that clicked, I would say. Like, right away, we knew, like, all right, we've got a really fun palette to play with here. Like, let's get weird.
The lighting, the colors, I fucking loved all of that. So let's talk about, and I'm glad that you brought up the giallo, because again, I'm not going to give anything away, but the locker room scene to me felt very giallo, and like, so I'm glad that you brought that up and that you also love giallo, because I love giallo films so much. Like, one of my favorites is Pieces, even though like it's really not that good of a movie, but I love it so much.
A giallo should not make any sense at all. I don't care about the story. I just care about how good it looks.
Like, yeah, that Pieces, there's this random like kung fu scene that makes zero sense. And I remember when it happened, I was like, did I just miss something? Because what the fuck was that? But they're fun. Giallos are so much fun.
Yes.
So what kind of horror influences shaped this film? Like, anything that inspired you? Because this film has so much style. Is there something you pulled from, or is that just how you wanted it to look right off the top of your head?
I mean, there's obviously films that have like cemented my love for the genre that I think I naturally like can't help but take influence from. Like, Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2 is one of my favorites. And that locker room scene really was inspired by the extremely graphic locker room scene with like two female full frontal sequences, like where they start making out. It's just a weird girl gets crushed in a locker. Like, it's great. It's amazing. But I was like, okay, this is almost difficult to watch, these poor women. And like,
Right.
Let's take it and now make it gay. But I mean, so many films have really kind of shaped my love of the slasher genre. Like, a huge fan of Jamie Blank's. Love Urban Legend. Love Valentine. So sad that we recently lost him. But like, just I grew up as a teen. I would say Urban Legend was probably my favorite slasher of all. But as I've gotten older, I love Stage Fright. I love The Prowler. Love the long drawn out sequences. I like my slow burn suspense, which is why my film is 2 hours and 14 minutes long. But I wanted every scene to be a big, long thing. And so a lot of that pacing and everything I would say takes homage from that as well. And The Prowler also has a very specific, like the killer is just so striking. Tom Savini's makeup effects at their finest, and you've got that amazing killer design that just has that wonderful silhouette. I would say a lot of early inspiration came from that.
Nice.
Want to talk about this continues kind of on the stylistic and the tonal qualities of the movie. We have the killer in this movie and we have the kills. How much fun was it to pull off some of these kills? Because I got to tell you, they did make me look away. A couple of them did. I was like, oh my God. But the effects were so incredible and they looked great. So how much fun did everyone have putting that together?
The effects we handled very delicately. And it was the last phase of filming that we kind of set that aside because we knew like that would need the most funding. And so we filmed like the flashback, and then we came back and did another section where we filmed like the story, and then we were holding on the kills. And luckily our third Indiegogo blew it out of the water and we doubled it, our goal. And it's because we finally had some promo to kind of get the ball rolling with it. So it was really like unexpected. And so we're able to go in and give these kills the time and the attention that they deserve. Because if you ask any gay horror fan, especially slasher fan, what the most important part of a slasher is, it's the chase scenes and the kills. It's got to have a Helen Shivers-esque caliber chase sequence. You just have to have it, or else you're doing blasphemy. So I knew I needed to incorporate those big elements, draw the kills out, and especially with each character playing a very pivotal role in what happened, and the drug elements coming into play as well. It gave us a lot of room to get really creative. And so like by the time we got to doing the actual molds and everything, Derek Worley did our prosthetic molds, and a lot of our main makeup effects. Ron George here in Cleveland was our second unit, was our Cleveland unit, and they just collaborated really well. And yeah, I mean, it was fun as all hell. Like I knew that if, like I kind of said this before, but like I knew if I was going to get people to come in and watch this movie and just embrace it as something outwardly queer and just say, hey, whether or not that's what I'm looking for, I'm going to watch this because I want to see a good horror movie. I knew I had to deliver. And if this is a slasher, I got to show them what I can freaking do. And so I could not skimp. I couldn't limp wrist it on the kills. I knew I had to really go in and just get crazy. And so hopefully that translated to camera. I don't think we got lazy on them. And I do feel like people are responding well.
Oh boy, I did.
Bravo.
I mean, yeah.
Thank you.
I have my favorites. I don't want to talk about them, but
I know, but I know what it is. I know what mine is in it too, and I'm not going to give it away. But yeah,
the fact that there's favorites in general, I'm like, yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Oh, I've got a couple. Yeah. It was just they were just real. Like I said, they were really well done. So you really have put together, an amazing crew to create this film. We talked about the lights. We talked about. Obviously the kills, the prosthetics, it works on so many levels, Roger.
Thank you. This is awesome to hear, honestly. And what's really, I think, exciting is I've gotten to go on a couple podcasts now, but it's still really early in the process. Like anyone who's seeing it is seeing the film festival, the screener. Like, and that's really the only fan base I have to go off of right now. But hearing the response from a very diverse array of people, whether it be a couple of straight guys or two gals or half a gay drag queens, every group of individuals that sits down with it is giving me a response from a different viewpoint that's so empowering. Like it's so wonderful this early on to hear great feedback from a diverse array of people. And so I'm really happy to hear this. Thank you so much for the kind words.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
I really do feel like this is a film that is going to resonate with, like you said, a ton of different diverse crowds. Because we're just two straight podcasters, and I ate this thing up. Like I was so excited. And one of my favorite things is, I'm going to go off the rails a little bit, Brian. Bear with me,
please. Wouldn't be the first time.
It never is. But one of my favorite things is when a film, for whatever reason, shows cock and balls. And I think the reason why it makes me so happy is because I grew up on Jackass. Jackass is one of my favorite franchises. And whenever there was a cock and balls on that movie, they were doing crazy stuff with it. They were putting it in mouse traps, letting snakes bite it. And so like whenever I see a cock and ball on a movie screen, I'm like, this is an event. This is exciting.
Fuck yeah, man.
And they're underrepresented. Why do we get to have full frontal women in every horror movie, but the dudes don't do it? So the fact that you went for it, I'm like, fuck yeah. It is called meat for a reason.
Well, and I think you made up for all the films that don't have it, because the amount of it in this film, it was like, wow, this is, you don't see this every day.
You know, like, I knew what I was getting into. And I was like, if I'm going to do it, I got to go hard with it, I guess. But hearing that from you, I mean, one of the most exciting moments I've had, and this is at Houston, this was our first audience. Aside, we did a Cleveland test screening, and then we screened it in Houston. And it was a packed house, and it was just Houston, Texas. There's a group of burly straight men, like 3 rows up from me. And they were doing a dick count where they were like, Spawn! Yeah! And like, I've never seen so much enthusiasm ever for male nudity. It was empowering. It's one of those things that I knew that if I was going to do it, I had to go balls to the wall, literally. But I wanted to make sure that if I was incorporating nudity, it didn't feel unnatural. Like, I think there's something to be said about the discomfort that comes with being fully exposed in front of somebody. Like, it's hot, it's sexy, but also, like, if you're put in a precarious situation, being fully revealed like that is actually horrifying. Like, there's something really, really scary about fully exposed nude sequences in horror, where it becomes less about the sexuality and more just about the vulnerability. And so that's something I wanted to make sure here, that, like, yeah, you get plenty of hot nudity, but if it makes sense. When you do see these individuals naked, it's not like, all right, Billy, let's go into the bedroom and have sex. Like, it's like the environment calls for it. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. Totally.
Well, in my case, it was very humbling. So, just like, oh my God, damn it.
I'll let the guys know.
Yeah, please do. All right.
Yeah. Bravo, men. Bravo.
Yeah, bravo.
Oh man, this is the best.
Oh God.
So, okay, I'll reel myself back in a little bit. Let's talk about some of the challenges. Indie filmmaking is no easy thing. So what were some of the biggest challenges you faced bringing meat to life?
I mean, clearly financing. I'm going to be paying off of loans for most of my life for this movie, but I wanted it to be done right. But it was also like, when I decided to do an Indiegogo, like, I don't want to be doing Indiegogos for the rest of my life. You know, I wanted to give it my all, and we did 3 separate Indiegogos. And like I mentioned earlier, the first 2 made small fractions of the goal. Like, first one we made like $7,000 out of like what I said was going to be a $15,000 movie. Ha ha! All right, yeah, sure. And then we came back and we made less the second time around. We made like $4,000, and but then there's a distinct time jump in the film. And so I was like, okay, we're going to navigate this with what we have. And so let's film all these sequences, and then we'll come back, and you can change your looks however you want. Get tattoos. It doesn't matter. It's 5 years later. Like, I encourage it. And that gave me a lot of room to breathe and kind of reformat. And so when we came back in with the third approach, we had all this footage and these great promo shoots we had done. And we had this huge team working on it. And so at that point, there was enough support that, like I had mentioned, we doubled our goal. And so we were able to finish with a bang. But the financial element has always like hovered over this, because even when you get double the amount you want, there still ends up being so much more that you didn't plan for, like all of the film festivals and, you know, just going back in and doing all kinds of audio work. And it just keeps going and going, you know? So I think it's also the fact that just eventually you've got to stop nitpicking. Like, that's the other most difficult part, is if I could sit with this for 3 more years, I'd do it. I would keep on just honing my craft and getting better. But like, you know, this is what I can do right now, and I hope it connects with people. And I eventually just have to let it go out into the world and be experienced for what it is. And so that's really difficult. It's just saying it's done now. That's a tough place to be.
Yeah. You know, and I can totally understand that, because I am exactly the same way. I'll have it, I do primarily short films, and they'll be sitting there done. At least I think they are. And then I go back and go, you know what if I color this different? Or now, you know what? Why don't I add this? And you're right. When do you know when to just say, fuck it, it's done, it's good enough, let's get it out there? That's hard to do.
It's hard to do, but I've always promised myself, and I think every director does this, I'm like, there will be a director's cut, of course, right? Yeah, sure. And that'll be 3 hours and 12 minutes. And so it can all be there in the final cut. Don't worry, Roger, because there's plenty more. I don't know why I thought I needed it, but this was a very long film process. And I stuck close to the script. I just kept filming really good shit so we could want to use it. I mean, I don't know.
So on the flip side of that, what were the most rewarding moments during production?
I mean, there's so many like glorious milestones you hit along the way. I think seeing the characters come out like in costume, because I costume everyone, by the way. I refuse to not wear every hat, but I think like I had in my mind for literal years, I'd been imagining this group of individuals a certain way. And this is something that ended up really kind of close to what I envisioned. Like a lot of filmmakers, I think, really have to bend on their goals, their aspirations, and kind of just throw in the towel on certain things and settle for less on a smaller budget. I got everything I wanted, down to the mansion scene. That was the very last thing that we filmed. And that was probably one of those moments where like I was kind of floating because I'd refused to bend. There was all these suggestions, like, let's set it in an office. We'll set it on a campus. I was like, no, it's going to be a mansion. He's supposed to be rich. And I refused to bend. And last thing we did, I mean, it cost me a pretty effing penny, but I got my mansion and I got to see the scene that I had literally for years and years been building up and hyping up and hyping up. And we filmed it all over one night. I mean, we got that whole thing done in one night. But we pushed it and we got exactly what we wanted. And that was one of those kind of surreal moments where I was, wow, to wrap up on this moment, the thing that I've been clinging to for so long and refusing to bend for anyone's suggestions at all, it felt really satisfying. It did.
That's amazing. And that is a great scene, by the way. So good call with the mansion.
Yeah. And I was like, we're not cutting any of it. We're keeping all of it.
So you said you did the costumes. Did you design the killer's outfit?
Yes. So the killer,
holy shit.
Originally the killer was going to have alternating costumes with the kills. But like, let's be real. Already this budget has ballooned. Like last thing I need is 7 killer costumes. So I was like, okay, we need one great look. And so we did one test run on it. And really what it was just incorporating like different styles of fetish wear and leather fashion. Because there's a big element of fashion that plays here. You know, one of the plots is set in the world of the fashion industry. And then the other aspect is like the grungy gay bars and the nightlife. And I wanted to bring those together because that made sense. And so the killer's costume is just a lot of different pieces of fetish wear, down to like the fisting gloves. To be clear, those are fisting gloves. He's got harnesses and all kinds of pieces on him. And then he's got that jacket, which I bought a jacket that was stylized a certain way and then I enhanced it a bit. But really, like that jacket was selected specifically. I was like, that's it. It's got to be a moving weapon. It's got to be something that would be dangerous just from contact alone. The stud needs to live up to that name. He needs to look sexy, but he's also got to be dangerous. I don't want people to look at him and think, oh, he's the gay killer. He can't actually hurt me. No, I assure you, he can kill you.
It's a scary look. I mean, it's a lot of things all wrapped up in one. It's sexy. It's punk rock too. Yes. Like it's fucking cool, and it's so striking. So like really well done there. Like there's just something about that character that I can see people wearing him, dressing up as him at like horror conventions or something like that. Like it is so striking, and it looks like someone could actually make it at home. Like a lot of horror slasher costumes, like there's zero chance you made that. But like this one, it looks like someone could actually create it.
It's just so badass and sexy, and it works. It just works. It completely works. I mean, I could not take my eyes off of it. Every time, the killer comes on screen, I'm checking out every aspect of what they're wearing, and just tremendous.
Thank you. I mean, if even if that was the only aspect of the film that hit for people and everything else failed, just to have a killer that people connect with, like that alone is like, I'll take it. I love it. I love that this side has taken off because he really like, he could have been so overdone and we could have gone in and been like, oh, let's like drag queen him up. Let's make him really exaggerated. And like what you said, like it needs to look like something that somebody in both of these worlds would be able to throw together.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't make sense to be anything other than that. And so I'm so happy that people have connected with it because honestly, like the most fun aspect of the film was like lighting the stud, moving him around during the kills. Like, I mean, there's no matter how you angle him, as soon as you adjust the lights the right way, that thing glows. And like to have a killer that like moves, like walks into camera and is like, bam. It was so fun working with him, but that mask has no peripheral vision. And I will say that for each major kill, well, we have one core actor, Corey Blackledge, who is the stud in his main silhouette. We had different actors for different kills come in and do things like, you know, the one scene involving the gym is very different from the one scene set at the mansion, and they require different things. And so we brought in different actors who specialize in certain kinds of like fight choreography, or, you know, moving certain ways, whether it be like martial arts or certain things like that, because the kills call for it. So that way it could be as easy to execute as possible. But like the scene in the bathhouse where the stud is running with those double samurai swords down a full cement staircase is Corey in that mask, unable to see anything in front of him and just counting the steps. And I was like, boy, I'm going to get a lawsuit. Like, I know it. Like, it's coming.
Gosh.
My stomach's breaking a neck and like, I'm going to go to jail. I know it.
Better count those steps and count them twice.
Yes. Take it slow, but move fast.
Yes.
So we talked about the killer. I would love to learn more about the rest of your cast because what a great ensemble. What were you looking for in your actors?
I like to write to people who I know and like write to their strengths. You know, there's several characters in this that I knew who I was casting, and then I wrote the character to kind of fit that mold. Like Caitlin Newberry is one of my really good friends, and Caitlin, I'm really lucky to have gotten her on this project. Because Caitlin's career's kind of like taken off in the last couple of years, but she made time for me and I really appreciated it. And I had her for a certain window of time. And so I knew like the role Caitlin plays in my life, I knew would naturally translate for this character. And so that gave me some great natural inspiration, but I knew I wanted a very diverse cast. Like I love Hellbent, which came out, I think it was 2004, maybe around that. At that time, that was progressive, just existing what it was, but it's still for the most part, a very white cast. I think there's one Hispanic, I believe, individual in it. I'm pretty sure, but everyone else is just pretty white boys. And I was like, I can't do that. Like, that's not the world I grew up in. And Cleveland is a really diverse melting pot, and all shapes and sizes and colors and ethnicities and religions. It's all here. And that's what I love about this area I live in, and I wanted to bring that to the screen. So I knew I wanted a really diverse ensemble, and I wanted just to represent kind of all shades of the rainbow. Like I knew that I wanted to have characters that, you know, gender fluid. We have a very prominent transgender character who is a major playing factor in the story. Just different elements of the queer community, because there's so many layers to that, and I wanted everyone to feel represented. So that was really important for me as well.
So I'm very heavily involved in our local theater community. And so when I do projects, I think a benefit that I have is that I'm in such close proximity with actors, so I can see people and I can write things specifically tailored for certain actors. And you mentioned you kind of did that as well. Did you audition, or did you kind of know a lot of these folks and you just kind of wrote for them and kind of had them come in, maybe read for you, or did you have a full-blown audition call for your cast?
I didn't hold an audition. No, I asked people to come in and read for the roles. And I think like overall, I pretty much got what I wanted right across the board. I was struggling in casting the character of Mo initially because he was written to be Puerto Rican. Because the themes that come through with that character, I think made sense either way. But having the chance to incorporate a Middle Eastern character, specifically for my rap, I thought was really something just that felt relevant and felt necessary. And that's an element of the queer community that I don't think is ever really represented in cinema. But there's, a huge Middle Eastern population here in Cleveland. And that I think was a really cool opportunity. So I was able to kind of adjust that and pivot. I think it really benefited the character. And then Jason Eno, who played TJ, I went to high school with him at an all boys private Catholic school here in Cleveland. I look at us now in a big gay slasher, but he had just moved back from New York, and like that was another one. I was like, hey, I need someone to play this role, and the timing is just perfect. And he's the only person I had read for that role. I think that's the last part I cast. But yeah, I got really lucky because I knew people who I was envisioning as I was writing the story, and it got to a certain point I was ready to pitch it. I think when people start reading the script, they're like, yeah, absolutely. I was scared the nudity would be a problem, but all the guys were like, yeah, like cool, like let's do it. And I was like, all right, man, yeah.
Perfect.
They're like, we're hanging trout today. It's going to be fun.
All day long, all day on set. These guys are cool as hell, man.
That's awesome. So yeah, I mean, a big part of directing is running a safe and kind of welcoming set. How important was that for you, given, the themes of this movie, to create a really, truly safe place for everybody?
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge, especially in noting just how exposed some of these characters were. Like, I mean, obviously there was a lot of early dialogue and so forth, but I even once we got rolling, my assistant director, and wears many other hats as well, but Zach Schilwachter, I call him my gay whisperer because he's straight. And so I'd be like, I don't even want to be in the room if they don't want me in there right now. I need you to go in and talk to the actor and make sure. So he can come in and be like, yep, straight guy here. So you're naked. And I just want you to know that we're about to shoot in 5 minutes. But honestly, it's there has to be an element of respect. I have been on green sets that do not know how to handle nudity. I've seen people get upset. I have seen women cry. I have witnessed things that made me so uncomfortable that I vowed that I would never carry that over to my own production. So, luckily, these scenes were so controlled and everybody was on the same page, and I thought it was to be so much scarier than it was. Once everyone was in a place where we all knew there was this element of respect and understanding, and if an actor is exposed, whatever they need in the moment, be it a robe, be it a safe place to go hide, whatever, just wall them off until they're ready, whatever they need, we're going to make it happen. And I think because of the early communication and really establishing the expectations, it made for a really fun, laid back experience. So that was pretty awesome.
Nice. Were there any standout performances or moments on set that really stuck with you or resonated with you?
Oh, I mean, we had Pandora Box on set, and that was as a gay man who very much appreciates Drag Race and the impact it's had on the mainstream. Sure. I thought that was really amazing. So having her come out was one of those moments where I was like, wow, this is really happening. But I think I've got to acknowledge Cody Steele, who plays Noah. I've known Cody for years, and we grew up in the Cleveland film scene together. We were attached to multiple film projects that never got finished, and he was always just on the verge of having a break, and then the project would just fold, and it happened 3 times over, and it was really upsetting because he's so talented. And I mean, you said you're an indie filmmaker, you know that these things are fragile. A lot of these things don't get done, and so finally getting him to see him step into a character and bring it to life, a character that I'd originally written for myself, but I got a little too old. but honestly, they had a lot of meisms written into him. Seeing him bring that character to life and give him a heartbeat, I think was really wonderful to watch, because that character, I don't think would have worked if he didn't have this kind of endearing element of like, even though I've taken like blow after blow after blow, and I keep getting knocked down, I keep pulling myself back up. He's such a reluctant hero. He's an anti-hero, but he's such a reluctant hero because really he just wants to have a normal life, and all these kind of big events keep happening, and he keeps rolling with the punches. And just seeing Noah's evolution over the course of the film, I think, was really amazing to watch, because I don't think people are going to be prepared for a quote unquote final girl, final gay, whatever you want to call her, who has so much depth. The character goes through a lot. And so that was really wonderful to watch that unfold and go from script to screen.
So we're seeing a lot more diverse voices in horror lately. It's a beautiful thing. And where do you see LGBTQIA horror heading in the future?
I mean, it seems to be coming out of the woodworks right now. It feels like that scene in The Wizard of Oz where like Glinda like calls out the Munchkins and they all start doing pinwheels. Like all of a sudden I see all these gay filmmakers coming out, and it's amazing. But I think that like we were waiting to find our voice, and it was something between COVID and like what's happening right now that motivated a lot of people to go pursue their dreams. And specifically for queers, I think a lot of us have a lot of pent up frustration right now about how we feel with everything that's going on, and things that are being put on our shoulders, just assumptions being made about our community. And I think a lot of people have things that they want to get off their chest. And so you're seeing a lot of wonderful queer creators take those frustrations and translate it into art. And, I am never going to complain about having a plethora of queer horror cinema at my disposal. Like, it's what I've been waiting for. And it seems like this year there's several titles coming out with a queer focus. And so I hope that continues, because I think that people are going to get tired of seeing the same thing over and over, and seeing a new, fresh viewpoint, a new, fresh perspective on life that you don't understand. It's like just why I would want to sit down and watch a piece of foreign cinema set in a different country or something like that. I want to see something that I can't even predict what's going to happen, or claim that I understand how these people think or operate. That's what keeps cinema exciting and invigorates it. So I think that an infusion of LGBTQIA plus voices is really going to be a very creative boom for the industry. And let's be real, when gays move in, we take over and we make things look good. So you can expect some fancy looking horror movies. I bet you anything.
Fuck yeah. Let's get the fashion better in horror. Like, we need it.
Oh my God. I have high expectations.
I think Meat's a good step in that direction. Like,
Yeah.
that killer has some fucking drip, so we're heading in the right path.
That's why I like to hear drip. I'm going to be using that for him for the next few Instagram posts.
Yes.
So there are already some great reviews out there from some of the industry trades, and the audiences who have been seeing, the festival screeners are responding positively. As a filmmaker, do you feel like audiences are more ready now for stories like Meat than they were even just a few years ago?
Yes, I do. I think that when you put people in a position where they start to feel like they're deprived of something, they want it more. And, I think even you go back to 2001, and I feel like there was kind of like this safety bubble that a lot of people felt like they were in, where certain things could never be challenged. And lo and behold, now people are feeling that. And so I think that people are more than willing to push back against the system. And that means consuming things that may be considered taboo. Or, if you say like, oh, don't read that book, that book is banned. I know a lot of people are probably going to go look for that book. So in this case, I hope people go and look for this movie because they're wanting to push back. They're wanting to express how they're feeling, their rage, their frustration. And I just think that, these are the times that make the best art. I really do. I think that from shit grows the most beautiful roses, and hopefully people like my roses.
I think it is the perfect time for this movie to come out. And unfortunately, we do live in a time where there's always pushback, people being outraged. Are you expecting some of that with your release? I mean, I hate that this is even something we have to discuss, but are you preparing for outrage in any way, or are you just being like, I'm sending my baby out there and whatever happens, happens?
I think like really early in, I was all ready to like defend it, and defend it I
Yeah.
shall, to be clear, but like jump at anybody who's going to have a negative comment from the queer aspect,
Right.
just
Right.
attacking for the sake of attacking. But the thing is like right now we live in like this like black hole of negativity where a lot of these systems, these softwares, these platforms are programmed to stir the pot. And
Mhm.
a lot of these voices exist just to do that, just to cause problems. And so I found it a lot more enriching, and just we're celebrating to just seek out the reviews that are positive, because there have been a lot of them. And I just started to ignore the negative ones. Not that I don't want to hear actual constructive feedback. Like, let's be real. Like, I am on my second feature, and I've been doing this from the ground up. I am the greenest filmmaker I could possibly be. I have a lot to learn, but I think you could differentiate actual critiques from like harassment, and
Right.
like I'm a big girl. I've been standing up for myself for a while, and it takes a lot to ruffle my feathers. So in a way, I'm almost like bring it on, like bring it
Yeah.
on, because as many people who want to criticize this, like the roar of support is already loud enough that even if that's all I got, I'm already so happy that there's not really a lot that can drag me down from here.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing too. I mean, there's a huge difference from, a critic who gives you a bad review just because they don't like the film,
Right.
as opposed to somebody who's going after it because of, oh, there's gay people in it, or there's whatever. That's a whole different thing. When it gets personal like that,
Right.
I don't think there's a lot of room for that. I mean, we all have films that we've seen that we may not like, for whatever reason, but yeah, I think that's a big thing right there. And good for you. I mean, you take the positive reviews and don't pay attention to all the noise that's out there, because as you mentioned right now, you're right. It's like there's a lot of it, and its sole purpose is to just grind people down for no other reason than to just grind people down. So yeah,
Yeah.
I would be very proud of what you have created, and I'm just excited to see where this project goes for you.
I very much appreciate that, and this has been honestly a really like fun conversation. So thank you for like being so enjoyable to chat with. But like, I needed, I know, I needed to have a perspective from a bunch of straight guys. Like, it's great to hear that you dudes can roll with it, because really, like, as much as I want to show my queer community love, I am also the biggest horror fan out there.
Right.
And my life is defined by the genre. And so I wanted to do it right. And I wanted everyone to take something away from this. If they go in with an open mind, I think there's a lot to celebrate about it. So this is really, really awesome to hear your feedback. It's been a really great chat.
It really has been. And, I think the film the film is great. I just had a lot of fun. I mean, again, I will admit I had to look away at a couple of the kills, but I do that with other films too. The Terrifier franchise, especially 3, when I went and saw it on the big screen, I was like, oh, that hurts me in places it shouldn't hurt, but it does. And you created those though. So you affected me in that way with this film. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I do want to ask you, if you had to pitch meat to a horror fan in one sentence, how would you do it?
This may not be your cup of tea, but if you stick around, I assure you, you're going to find a flavor that you enjoy.
Oh, I like that.
I like that. I like that a
Excellent.
lot. So for our audience, Opening Kill, I want you to speak directly to them and tell them why they should be excited to see this movie.
This is a film that was conceptualized by someone who just adores slashers, but wanted to make it feel personal. And I think that slashers can be a dime a dozen. And it's really easy to go in and make a slasher and not put a lot of thought behind it. But this is a film that's, it's meant to appease your lust for blood, but it's also meant to make you think and make you feel. And I don't think that fans of the slasher genre always are prepared for that. And so, hopefully you'll go in and you'll have an experience that's a little bit different from all the other slashers you've seen, and it will make you feel something. And if you're someone that's open to that, I think it has the potential to really rock your world.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been talking for about the last hour about you and this project, and I feel like there's still a little bit more getting to know you we can do here. So I think what Michael and I are going to do right now, it's kind of our version of Stephen Colbert's The Colbert Questionnaire. We're going to do just a quick rapid fire round of questions, horror themed for you. And so we can really get to know the real Roger Connors. All right. Okay. Favorite horror movie?
Romero's Night of the Living Dead.
Horror villain you would never want to encounter?
Oh my God. Probably Samara Morgan, because she could just teleport.
Valid.
One horror trope you love?
I mean, I'm sitting up here talking about my stances on nudity and how I want to be like all outspoken on it. But like, honestly, like when a gal whips out her knockers, I know it's going to be a good time. And that's just the fact of the matter. So like, yeah, I can preach all I want to the choir, but yeah, I mean, I like it when a gal gets naked in a horror movie.
That's fair.
Hey, fair enough. Now let's opposite end of that coin. One horror trope you would kill off forever.
Oh my God. Okay, I got it. Killing off somebody who's really earned their survival just for shock factor.
Yeah, that is a good one. That's a good one.
They earned it. Let them have
it.
Absolutely. Theater or streaming?
Oh, theater. Theater. I mean, come on. A packed theater, to be clear. But yes.
Yeah.
No cell phones.
Yeah. There's been a few instances where I've had to almost like murder someone because I'm like, just put the fucking phone away for an hour and a half.
Watch the fucking movie.
You paid the ticket. Like, just fucking get your money's worth. Jesus Christ. And slasher survival odds. Are you making it out of meat alive?
I want to say yes, but obviously not. Like, there's so many reasons. I'd be slow. I'd be panting. I'm not fast. I wouldn't even be able to defend myself if it came down to it. So probably not. But I do think I would get like that gay rage and like at least put up a fight. I like to think I'd put up a fight. I hope so. We'll see.
So before we go, Roger, where can people follow Meat and keep up with the film? When is it going to be released for everyone to see? Things like that.
Release, my hope is that by summer we will be announcing something. I don't want to hold it off much longer. We have some great opportunities developing. But I'm still knocking on wood, crossing my fingers. So hopefully within the next 2 months, you'll hear something.
Okay.
But up to that point, please follow us on social media. I would say Instagram is the first go-to. Meet the Movie on Instagram. You can follow me at The Screen Queer on Instagram as well. And then I also co-host a podcast, Dark Night of the Podcasts, with fellow filmmaker Troya Stimia, who did Mrs. Claus, Party Night. So he's a great time. And so you can follow us there as well. And then meetthemovie.com is officially live now. So it's clunky, but at least you can kind of get an idea of what's to come, some of the festivals coming up, so forth and so on. Because we do have a lot of exciting things just around the bend, and there's a lot of things to be announced here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, so definitely be following all the socials because you're not going to want to miss out on seeing this. And I just want to say thank you for bringing something new, unique, meaningful into this genre. And I love horror, and I love seeing it evolve. And this feels like an evolution step. And I am just happy that I got to partake in it. And thank you for showcasing Cleveland, because even though I'm not from Cleveland, I love that city. It's an underdog city. And I think seeing it represented anytime it does get represented, I'm fucking stoked on that. So thank you, Roger, for everything about this movie. I loved it.
I love hearing that. Thank you. I love knowing that you love Cleveland, that you're not from Cleveland, because sometimes we Clevelanders feel like, okay, we got to defend our city, and we will to the very death. But I'm Cleveland born and raised. I grew up just outside of Cleveland, and I knew that if I was going to set this in Cleveland, I had an opportunity to show how much I love my city. So hearing that means a lot. So thank you for saying that.
Of course.
And Roger, I don't want to speak for Michael, but as always, I'm going to. Once the film comes out, we would love to have you back on the show, and maybe you can bring Cody with you, and we can all sit in and we can actually break this down like we normally do on an episode of Opening Kill. I think that would be a lot of fun to have you guys come and join us and go through the movie once it gets its release. So
my face just turned red with excitement over that. Just the idea of getting to actually talk about it in the moment would be so fun. It's already 100% yes. Yeah. Oh my God. I had so much fun. Find another excuse to get me on before then. We'll talk it out because, you guys are fun.
We'd love to have you back. This is totally fun.
Yeah.
Roger Connors, co-writer and director of the upcoming Meet. Thank you so much for joining us on Opening Kill.
Thank you for having me, guys. You're great.
What a super nice guy.
Yeah. What a cool guy. Love that.
Yeah. The film is Meet, so be looking for it soon, and we'll definitely have Roger Connors back on the show with us. I mean, just Absolutely. A lot of fun.
What a breath of fresh air. Like that was
definitely.
It makes me feel like I'm invigorated now. Like after having conversations like that, it's cool. It's cool that we get to do this.
For sure. Well, that wraps it up for this episode of Opening Kill, our special Meet episode with co-writer and director Roger Connors. And we'll be coming back next week with a brand new episode. In the meantime, check us out on all of your favorite socials. And, that video version's floating around on YouTube, Michael.
We're floating, we're flying, we're running all over that YouTube machine. Check us out. You can download, you can listen to the audio version, or I think the far superior video version, because you get to see these mugs. But either way you want to consume it, we've got you covered there over at YouTube. And rate us, review, subscribe, please. All of that is immensely helpful. And if you want to recommend a movie or want to drop us a line, whatever you want us to talk to us about, you can email us at openingkillpod@gmail.com.
All right. Well, that's it. We will talk to you again next week.
Opening Kill is produced by Mystic Cloud Productions and hosted by Brian O'Connor and Michael Duran. New episodes drop every Thursday wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And don't forget, you can watch the video versions on YouTube. See you next time, if you survive the opening kill.